What's going on? This is Lecrae, aka Crayola.
What's happening? It's your man Tedashii, aka T-Dot.
And you guys are pretty well known in the I guess, would you call it the Christian hip hop community?
Yeah, I would say within probably broader Christian music. You know, people know who we are because of our unashamedness of just admitting our faith. And more recently, I think hip hop, just as a broadly hip hop, has started to take note. And really say like, okay, like y'all are real MCs, y'all really care about y'all's craft, and so people have reached out. Shade 45 reached out, Static Selector reached out, Bumpy, Lecrae, Clips. So I think more and more over time, people are starting to say, okay, this is legitimate. Right.
So you feel like you're starting to get more respect from the general hip hop community?
Yeah, I think so.
I would say that. Yeah, I would say that. I think a lot of people would say, I may not get down with what you do altogether, but I can respect it. I appreciate it. You're an artist. You care about what you do. You care about the artistry of it, and so they appreciate it if nothing else.
Yeah.
So do you mainly rap about like scripture, or do you talk about life and you just kind of approach it from a different perspective than other rappers?
I think we do a little bit of everything. I think it's definitely a lot of life perspective. Everybody got a perspective, and so clearly as a Christian, we have a Christian perspective. So as we gonna articulate things, obviously I'm not gonna have a song like I do talk about, girls in a strip club, but I'm not talking about it like I'm in there throwing money at them. I'm talking about, man, that's somebody's daughter. That's somebody's sister. It's sad that she gotta do this with her life. You know what I'm saying? And that's my perspective, as a Christian, and so. But then on the flip side, we may say, this is what we believe, the Bible says about something as well.
So you guys are in town for the Dove Awards?
Yeah.
Is that kind of the Grammys of the Christian hip hop community, or how would you describe it?
I mean, you could call it that, I guess. There's not as many people looked at. I mean, the Grammys would encompass all of music in some regard, but this may not encompass all of Christian music, but a large chunk of it. And so we've been able to be a part of that.
So the Dove Awards is focused on hip hop and
it's on
R&B?
everything. It's on everything. Like it's not just hip hop. You got gospel, a little gospel. You got some like contemporary Christian music, and so on and so forth. So we look at it. I mean, we weren't even really considered in this for a long time, because it's a subgenre. Like, we feel more comfortable around cats in hip hop culture a lot of times than in other kind of cultures, but at the same time, our faith is what makes us distinct. Right.
So who are some of the artists like on you guys' level in the Christian rap genre?
It's some other cats. We're all on a label together. So my man Lecrae, myself, cat named Trip Lee. Then you got other guys like Thizzle, Jason, KB is another guy named Crow, cat named Shylin, all over the country. Some cats I'm naming from out of Philly, out of DC. We both started out in Texas. Some cats out here in Atlanta. So yeah.
We've been doing it for like 6 years, so it's really a movement, and that's how we look at it. Like, a lot of people don't know, about our fan. Like, if you come to, we did a tour just on our own. We did a tour, 33 cities. You got 5,000 people out there screaming in every city, and it's underground to a lot of folks. People just don't know what it is and what it looks like because they just never seen it before. But it's similar to like, a lot of people didn't know who Wiz Khalifa was until they started. They're like, yo, man, this cat got all these people at his concerts, and it's just kind of a similar thing. To where, like, on iTunes, the albums we've dropped for 2010, 2011 was all like within the top 5 on iTunes, and it made people say, okay, like Static Selector's picking up the phone, like, yo, man, who are you?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then he listens to the music and he's like, yo, this is hot. Like, despite the Christian distinction, it's definitely Christian, but it's good music as well. You know what I'm saying?
So I think that some artists who are, maybe they have their own beliefs, but they feel like if they label themselves as Christian rapper, maybe they won't sell as many units, or they won't make as much money. Like, what kind of numbers? I mean, you mentioned being at the top of the charts. Like, what kind of numbers do you guys do normally?
I mean, as a label, I'm sure we've been nearing probably 600,000 albums. As an artist, his album is coming out, this year, in May. My last album Rehab is probably around 150,000. You know, and so I think that makes the industry take note. That's not why we do it, but it just shows that people do want to listen to this. That there's a base for it. So.
Do you feel like you guys make an effort to reach out to people that are fans of hip hop music that might not even be aware that Christian hip hop exists? Like what? Because obviously a lot of artists, you know, they break their records in strip clubs and kind of in the streets. Like, how does that coincide with? Like, how does promoting a hip hop record coincide with your beliefs?
Yeah. I think we definitely do that. You know, for my album now that's coming out, album called Black Light, we've been trying to hit up some of the major mainstream markets from print standpoint, from a TV standpoint, interview standpoint, and honestly, I mean, this is the time the internet is king. I can do 2 videos and them joints get hits everywhere. I don't know how many times I've seen this dude on BET. But some cat from Mississippi, Big Crit, got 200,000 hits on almost every video. He ain't been on BET once. He ain't been in, I don't hear his music in strip clubs. That's not what cats talk about where his music go. But
it ain't on the radio, but it's
it ain't
banging,
on the radio.
But it's hot.
People know about it, and he do a concert, and he got 4,000 people showing up. The same with a dude like Tech Nine. Same with who we got to chop it up with. Like it's possible in this time. We can definitely see ourselves putting out music over the web, hitting up different markets, talking to different. Print like yourself, and watch it take place, take off.
So you mentioned the label that you're on. What's the next releases that you have coming up on the label?
Reach Records. We just dropped 2 mixtapes. My man KB, it's called Who Is KB? My man Pro, PSA Volume 2. Tedashii's album Black Light comes out in May, and then Pro and KB will drop albums after that this summer. So, Reach Records is traditionally a hip hop label, but all the artists are Christian, so we're authentically hip hop. You're not gonna be able to sit down in a room with us and not see that we're hip hop dudes, but we're authentically Christian. You know what I'm saying? And so that's the distinction between us.
Well, I don't think anybody would argue that a lot of the hip hop you hear, like on the radio or that gets corporate sponsorship, has a negative, tone to it or speaks on a lot of negative topics. So, what do you think and I know me owning a media outlet, people always come to me like, well, that's the media's fault. The media picks who they choose, but at the same time, do you feel like it's more in the hands of the consumer, or it's more in the hands of the artist or the media, or what needs to happen in order for more positive music to get played?
I mean, just from being an artist, man, I think an artist has to take ownership over what they do. I know that there's a supply and demand for what we do. So there's a supply and demand for what we do. So you want to do the stuff that people would enjoy. But for me, that's more sonically than it is what content-wise. I take ownership of what I do as an artist, and I want to put out what I think is going to be good art. And if that doesn't necessarily go as far as some mainstream cats go, I'm content with that, because I know that I'm doing something to put out what I know needs to be out there as much as what everybody else is fighting to put out. So I remember watching a documentary, I think it was Jay's Black Album documentary, and it was a young dude in the studio, and they was getting on this cat because he was rapping about being a thug, shooting guns, and they like, that's not even you. And he like, but I gotta do it, that's what the people want. And so they getting on his head like, man, why? You see what you see, and he's talking to the consumer, you see what you've done to him? He can't even be himself. And so for us, like Lecrae said, man, we authentically Christian, but we authentically hip hop. I'll be hip hop, but I'm not gonna shy away from being who I am wholly, totally. So I'll continue to do the sound that I think is true to who I am, and hope people can get down with that.
So is your goal with your music to convert people, or just to speak on your personal experience?
I think it's a mixture, man. I think our goal is, it's already, I'll be straight up with you, you know what I'm saying? Like, I firmly believe that Jesus came to this planet to change it, to bring his kingdom, you know what I'm saying? And it's a dark world here, but he brought the light, and that's what we're here to do, is bring light, to shed light on darkness, because a lot of stuff is just dark and people don't understand, people don't know what they're here for, their purpose, it's crazy stuff going on out here. So in some senses it's to give people hope, to give people encouragement, you know what I'm saying? And so some people say, oh man, you trying to proselytize us or Bible bash us, and that's not what we're here to do. Like, we're not here to condemn nobody. We're here to bring hope and light and encouragement, and we believe that that's found in Jesus, So that's really what we do.
Well, I know Trey 9 was on a panel last week with Bun B, Lupe Fiasco, just kind of talking about some of the content of the music. Have you guys had the opportunity to speak with other hip hop artists and kind of get their perspective on the content that they're putting out?
Oh yeah, all the time. You know, all the time. I done had all kind of cats in my studio, been in different cat studios, and we talk about it all the time. And a lot of artists, man, to be honest with you, some of them are slaves. Like, they gotta put it out because they want it. They trying to eat. They trying to feed their family. So they putting out what the label says they gotta put out. You know, they putting out what their manager says is gonna work. And so instead of just being themselves, you know, what you're saying is, you see some artists like Kendrick Lamar or, you know, Fly Union, who are just being themselves and just making good music, and people like it. You know what I'm saying? And they're giving their perspective, their unique perspective. And, you know, that's what we're doing. And so we talk to them and say, man, don't be a slave. Don't be a slave to nothing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Don't be a slave to nothing, but specifically not the industry.
So who would you say is your demographic? Like, what is your target audience, and who are you trying to reach?
We just a part of that. We're just a part of that new, it's like a convergence. It's like, you got black, white, rich, poor, hood, suburban, everybody. If you come to our concert, it look like...
It look crazy. You'll see a dude from the block who you know just got off the block standing next to a soccer mom. And you're like, who, are y'all together? They're like, nah, we don't know each other. But they there because they appreciate the authenticity of the music, but they also appreciate the fact that we true to who we say we are. And I mean, hip hop is a game where real recognize real. Like, you can't come into hip hop and be fake. If that's the case, you get found out, you get put out. And so I never wanted to show up and be somebody who I'm not. That's not me. Now, at some point, you know, I might have been that dude or tried to be that dude, but no, I want to be who I know I am, and I think that's appreciated. And if that's the case, when cats really are looking for hope, looking for answers, looking for light, I don't want them to be like, well, I can't go to him because that's the shady dude.
Do you feel like you talked about being stereotyped as being Christian, you know, hip hop and whatnot, but do you get any stereotypes from, like, say, older people in the church that don't like that form of music or feel like it's inherently like a negative form of music?
Yeah, all the time. I unfortunately, all the time, you know, and I think it's partly misconception. You know, they don't know us, but they see from afar, and, you know, I can't blame them for that. But at the same time, I think that we've done a disservice with making distinctions like, well, y'all old folk music, and we knew, you know, I don't, it's simply art. It's good music, and I want to have an opportunity to get you in a place, because, you know, once we sit down or once we get in front of you and once we get a chance to let you see what we do and we articulate what we're trying to do, hearts change, attitudes change, and then if they don't, I'm okay with that. Not everybody's a fan of hip hop, you know, even from a mainstream perspective. My mom don't listen to it. She owns some blues and some other stuff. But
Frankie Beverly.
Yeah, she owns Frankie Beverly and May. She's not trying to hear us do that, but you can appreciate good music, and so that's the end goal.
So were you guys raised in the church, or was this something that a belief you came to later on in life?
I wasn't at all. I grew up in a militant household, you know, Black Panthers, doggone Eldridge Cleaver. If I was gonna be anything, I was gonna be a Muslim, Nation of Islam. And so, you know, my mom was like, you know, smoke weed, but don't be out there wild, you know. So it's kind of like, there was Christian roots. My grandmother's a Christian, but I didn't have to go to church every Sunday. I didn't have to do none of that type of stuff. For me, I was like, Jesus is for old ladies, stockings, and shiny shoes, dudes in suits.
Hats.
Yeah, it's not for cats like me. And so, but it wasn't until I seen some dudes who look like me, they dress like me, they talk like me, but they love God, they love Jesus. And when I met them dudes, I was like, yo, hold on, y'all can't be Christian, because y'all look just like me. You got tats. Like, you can't be Christian, but it was like Christianity was about your heart. It's about a heart change. It's not about do's and don'ts and rules and regulations. That's religion, you know. So when I saw that, I was like, you know, I want to know more. And the more I learned, the more I saw who Jesus was, and my life, you know, changed. Like, it changed my life literally. So.
Well, for me, I didn't grow up in church. I grew up around it. Like, my mom was the type that was like, I feel bad, let's go. And that's kind of how she did it. And so for us, it was a job, or it was something that you did. But it wasn't until I got older, I got a chance to get away from home and see it from a college perspective. Saw some older dudes in college, and I was like, man, I want to be like them. Like, you know, I grew up in the hood, but I grew up watching the Cosbys. I grew up watching a different world. I knew you could go to college if you wanted to. So when I got there, I saw dudes who looked like me, who looked like cats from the TV shows, but they love the Lord, they love Jesus, and so I was like, okay, this is real life. This is not just something for the old cats. So let me look in a little more and see what it's about. And as I got deeper in and looked closer to it, I found what life. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it wasn't something that we was just like, oh, I grew up in it, so I gotta be this way. If I do music, I gotta be this way. It's just what we genuinely became and believed, and what we choose to do.
Well, it seems like there's also the perception that if you listen to hip hop music, that you're not Christian, or that you're not it kind of has a negative connotation to it. But if you listen to a lot of hip hop, like maybe not on the radio, but like UGK or Outkast or Tupac, a lot of artists speak on their personal beliefs. So do you think that, like, do you guys listen to secular music as well as Christian music, or?
I don't even believe, I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't believe in the term secular music and Christian music. I believe in people can have a secular perspective, like the perspective that doesn't include God, or a Christian perspective, and that perspective is gonna come out of your music. But music is art, you know what I'm saying? It's just, what's your perspective? And so for me, it's like, man, I listen to everybody's music because I want to hear everybody's perspective. You know what I'm saying? I may not agree with your perspective, but I listen to it. And you may not agree with mine, but listen to it at least. You know what I'm saying? Like, and if it's good, then judge it by the quality of the work. And I may inspire you, I may challenge your perspective. You know what I'm saying? And that's my approach when it comes to it. Yeah.
So is there a website where folks can check out your music? Or?
reachrecords.com, reachrecords.com, and then we real heavy on Twitter. You know what I'm saying? Just Lecrae, Lecrae, Tedashii.
Tedashii, Tedashii. Twitter /Tedashii. So
yeah, holla at us.
Yeah,
check us out.
One more question. Does the hip hop community seems to be very kind of segregated between the South, the East, the West. Is it similar in the Christian community, or is it more
real unified? Yeah. And that's, I think you gotta be. It's like how the South was when it was like East Coast West Coast battle. It wasn't like Alabama, Memphis, Texas. It was like the South just said, bump that, we're gonna get together. We're gonna come through the doors. And so that's a lot of what it is for like a lot of Christian cats. Is like we just stick together.
It's a movement.
You know, and it's some cats, some of your favorite rappers are Christians, and they don't want to lose no money, so they don't talk about they fake. But some of your favorite rappers are Christians, yes, and they reached out to us and they said, man, thank you for what you're doing.
Yeah.
And they rock with it. So,
yeah.
Yes,
I knew it was something good when cats from your favorite rappers is like, I bump you for my kids, man. I bump you for my okay.
Because you don't want your kids. Some of them don't want their kids listening to it.
They're not playing 50 for their kids. They're not playing Wayne for their kids, so they know.
Right. So some of them are.
Yeah, some of them are. That is true. But yeah, it's a movement. So.
All right. So any final words before we go?
Well, one, appreciate the opportunity. You know, we love the work, we love what you do, so we appreciate the opportunity. Definitely, if I'm gonna be an artist, then I'll mention, my album Blacklight comes out May 31st, reachrecords.com. But then aside from that, like we say, man, we authentically Christian, but we authentically hip hop. So you'll get a dose of who we really are from every vantage point. So
yeah. Shout out to Ozone Mag, man. I've been following y'all since way back in the day. We couldn't find out about a lot of rappers that people wouldn't speak about, that you know what I'm saying, we knew about. So much love, and just much love to the hip hop community, man. Like, we here for y'all. You know what I'm saying? We not here against y'all. We here for y'all. So real talk.